It is another week. And so this week's recording is take 2 because I had all the recording done in air quotes and I got it all done yesterday. And I realized I never turned the mic on. So the entire recording did not take. You could see me move my mouth, but not any sound. So it's like, okay, all right, okay, that's okay. It just means that what I had to say was not at that right time. And so it is Saturday morning as I'm recording this for the second time. So anyway, here we go. And yes, I do have the mic on this time. So woohoo. Okay. Before we get started, I do want to remind you about the 4-week reclaiming intensive that I have coming up. I still haven't set a date yet, but I will. This weekend is one of my goals is to set the date and tell everybody when and give everybody a link to sign up. So, but leading up to the date, right, is I really wanted to give everyone just a chance to think about it, contemplate about it, see how it sits in your body, how you feel about it. Are you curious? And does this feel right for you? So we'll go through the 4 weeks a little bit here. Yes, I still need my notes on this. So week 1, we get together, get to know each other a little bit. And what's bringing you to me? What is that wounding, that release that you're seeking? What is that about? Let's talk. We want to talk about that and see where that's sitting in your body. Because it can feel like so many things within us, not only in our minds, but in our hearts, our guts, various places in our body, stiffness in joints, how we ingest and digest food also can tell us a lot of where that story is sitting in our bodies because we've held on to it for so long. And so then week 2, we talk about, and by the way, each week is a live one-on-one call with me. So forgot to say that. And then week 2, can we have the feelings without the story playing in our head? And by the story replaying in our head is that this person did this and I feel guilt about this and I feel abandonment about this and the self-judgment and the unworthiness. Can we have those feelings and leave that story somewhere else? Because the story's sitting there, yes, and we'll work on that. But the feelings like unworthiness or self-judgment is story that we are noticing, but also it's most likely showing up in other places in our life. So we want to experience the feeling and how to start moving that through you and not letting it sit there. So that's week 2. Week 3, we're going to start to discover a little bit more. Where is that story? Where are those feelings? Where is that sitting in your body? And we're going to start doing some somatic energy work. I'm going to give you some tools to work and test what works best for you, because not each thing works best for everybody. That's why we have various things to work on and what feels good in your body. And so that is week 3. And then week 4 is really about bringing it all together for you to get you started down that path of really reclaiming and allowing to have the feelings and the story. I don't want to say it's just a story because I don't think that's quite true, but how we start to reframe that story, because our mind has picked up and started telling us the story on repeat over and over and over again. But I would also wonder, and because I've done this with myself, are those really the facts, or is this how that story made me feel? And I put these facts, if you will, not really, not truths, in my story because it made me feel safe, right? So stories replay to keep us in a spot, safety. So maybe we don't experience that again on repeat or ever again. So we hold back, we pull back. But when we do that, we stop ourselves from really being in our lives altogether, really being present and doing and being who you are and experience life and all the joy and all the wonder and all the gifts that come with that. And yes, sometimes they're difficult and sometimes they're hard. It's not going to be rainbows and sunshine and puppy dogs all the time. But those parts of us that experience those trials, I believe in many ways, those are lessons for us to expand, to evolve, to become more That's how I see it for myself, because that has been very true for myself. A lot of my story, my life story has been very difficult, and there's been a lot of tragedy around it. But when I look back during those times to where I was and where I am now, those stories, those tragedies, not stories, those tragedies and those trials and those traumas, yes, they reshaped my life in many ways when I was sitting in a dark place. But I took that dark place and I shed light on it and I let it transform me to where I am now. And it was worth all of it. I don't know really quite how to express that, but where I was, where I am now, so very different places. And life is not always, we hear it all the time, life isn't always easy. And no, it's not. But what we do with it and where we allow ourselves to go after some of those tragedies, some of those traumas, and to move forward. I think that's really what I'm saying here, is to move forward with that for your own personal self growth, for your own personal happiness and peace and joy. And this, oh gosh, this peace that settles in you, not this turmoil or these stories that pop up. And look, I'll tell you, I've had stories, they still pop up on sometimes. And it's usually around my next big step in my life of where I want to be, where I see myself and where I want to be and how to get there. And so there's stories that can pop up, and I'm recognizing those and I'm working through those. And it's like, okay, how can I change that story? What can I do today? One thing, just one thing. It doesn't have to be huge. One thing to do today, and then repeat it tomorrow and repeat it tomorrow to help me move to that life I want. That's what this is about. That's really what this is about. So anyway, 4 weeks, I took that way down the rabbit hole, didn't I? And for some people, I think 4 weeks is too quick. I have noticed that with some of the women that I work with. It's too fast. So when I feel like that's happening, that you're starting to get into overwhelm or you're pushing to get through, because we don't want to push. We want to work through it. We want to integrate it. And then the next step, right? Then I may turn the 4 week for a person into an 8 week and give them time to integrate more. I will do that on a case by case basis if I feel like it's needed. And so I wanted to share that with you too, because you may be thinking, I don't know if I'm ready for a week to week. That might be too much for me. It might feel too much in your body. Believe me, I get that. So yeah, there is a case to be made for you to turn a 4 week into an 8 week, but we can cross that if we need to. And what's the investment? $84.99 for all 4 weeks. So what is that? My brain's not working this morning. Like $21 and some odd cents a week is what it works out to be. And I wanted it to be accessible for everybody. I know the economy's rough. I get that, but I don't think that is the reason why we should not try and move out some of these energies that just sit in our body for a long dang time. That's not a reason why. You're worth far more than that. You really are. And so am I. So I want to make this accessible to everybody. So I kept it at $84.99. Anyway, so that's my deal. I will give a date. I promise I will give a date to start. It's just, I don't know, just resistant on that date right now. So I thought I would do something a little fun today. And I think maybe the reason why the recording didn't take yesterday is maybe I started to go down a rabbit hole and starting to get things too deep. So this morning, as I was, kind of contemplating and thinking about how I feel about all that, is I wanted to step back, and it's like, okay, maybe I was taking this a little too deep when it really doesn't need to be. So what I'm going to do is we're going to talk about human design a little bit. I'm going to share my chart. And if you have never run your chart, please go to my website, www.terrypershon.com. I'll leave that link down in the show notes. And scroll down to the end of the web page, and there's a spot there to put in all your details and run a free chart. It comes with a 10-page free report. I'm just getting tongue tied today, aren't I? And it's the bones. It's the base of human design. And it gives you something to read and contemplate and see how you feel about that. And if you're curious about more and you want to go deeper, we can absolutely do that. Hop back on my website, book a reading with me, and we'll go through that a little bit deeper with you. But I always encourage everyone, start with the free report. It gives you a lot of information, and it can be a lot to take in. So if you need to take it in chunks, please do so. I know when I had my human design reading for the first time, oh boy, it was just a lot. Just felt like a lot. And I had to let it set inside me and just sit with it for a while. And then I started getting a little bit more curious. And then I started playing with it a bit and what felt right and what didn't feel right. And things started to come together for me. And honestly, human design and how our body was put here to work and be for the community, it's evolving. And by that, I mean, I may be at this baseline today, and tomorrow I may learn something more about myself and how I work and how I'm wired. And I'll take that up a notch, up a step. So my baseline moves up. Okay. So I think I just made it way too complicated yesterday. And so we are going to attempt to do a share on this, and I've only shared on this particular platform one other time, so I'm not super it's not doing what I wanted to do. There's the share. Duh. Come on. Share screen. There we go. And there we go. Okay, so I'm going to be looking off to the side at my second screen, so I'm not trying to ignore anybody, and I'm hoping this is big enough for everyone. So make it a little bit bigger for everyone. So hopefully you're listening, watching, in a way you can see my chart. So if not, you can always go to YouTube and grab my channel and look for it there. So again, this is my chart, and you can see all the little things over here. So I'm going to keep it pretty much on this top third section. So I'm an emotional projector. What does that mean? Oh gosh. So projectors we're here to guide. We're here to see patterns. We're here to bring ideas out, and we're here to orchestrate, if you will. So we have this idea, we have this process that it just makes sense. It's step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, right? And it doesn't have, it's whatever lights you up in that step 1, 2, step 3, step 4. For me, it's various things. But my point being is that we're here to guide the people through the process, right? So like my 4-week program, I'm here to guide you through the process. Okay. Some people use the word coach. I'm still not crazy about that. Guide just feels much better for me. So I'm here to guide the process for you. And also, projector, you project out, right? You project out. So I project my energy out. But as you can kind of see over here, I have a lot of white spaces. So all these little white spaces, they're called centers, these little, squares and diamonds and triangles. And then you'll see a couple over here that what we call defined. So I have a defined will and a defined solar plexus. So anyway, I project out my feelings, my determination, I think people feel my determination more than they feel anything through that defined will. I get that a lot. And, but the white spaces, that's everything that's coming in to me, all your energies. So I learned how to filter that and to keep what's mine and let you move through me. And that's my intuitive hits of of you as we are in the room, intuition of the now, like at the moment of what may come next, which I'm still playing with, and I see, or I can predict, if you will, the next, maybe a next line in a movie, or I I know instinctively when I'm talking with someone what that next sentence is or where they're trying to land in most cases. So that's kind of me in a nutshell there. And then you'll see I'm a 2-4, 2-4 emotional projector. So my profile is 2-4. What does that mean? There's like 12 profiles. A line 2, we tend to call that the hermit. We you feel this energy to pull back within yourself to for a long time to recharge, and that's really important. So if you're aligned to, please don't ignore that, because you will burn yourself out if you don't. And as a projector, also, we can also tend to burn ourselves out because we don't work at the same energy levels as, say, a generator, a manifesting generator, or a manifester for that matter. We work in spurts. So, we have energy for a short period of time. And sometimes my short period of time can be a few hours. Sometimes it's a whole day. So it just kind of depends on what's ebbing and flowing within me and around me that I'm picking up on, and where my energy levels are. So if you're line 2, or you're curious if you're line 2, you may find that you naturally just want to pull back, and you're okay in being with just yourself without a bunch of people around. And it's rejuvenating. I can say that honestly, it's rejuvenating. Usually by the time I get to Fridays, I do need my downtime, and that's usually Saturdays. Then we have the line 4. The line 4, and here you see it's called the opportunist. Line 4 is about community and pulling people together and being within community and creating your communities, and not necessarily only your family, but the communities around you, right? And I tend to notice, and I've been noticing it more and more lately, as I meet people that feel right for me, and you get this sense in your body if they are the right people for you, to be honest. You'll get a sense of, no, 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 not this one, but maybe this one over here. Let's go meet this person over here, and they feel really, really, really right. There you go. But what I also notice when I meet those right people, I tend to pull them in to my community, to pull them in, and they become a part of my family. And I have friends that I've had to actually tell that to. I've pulled them into my community because now you're a part of my family. I'll use this in my day job. Um, so I have a group of people that I'm responsible for, that I manage, and some of them, and they're like, "Okay, Terry, you're kind of like momming us. Would you like stop?" And when they tell me that, or I recognize what I'm doing, is they're a part of my community. They are a part of my family. And I treat them that way, right? And they are a part of my family. That is the best way I can put that. So, and you may feel that as you work with me on the 4-week program, that you feel like you're being pulled into my family. And it's such a deep caring for people. And I see these potentials and people as I meet and get to know them. And I want to draw that out of them so they can see what they can do. I've had many conversations, this still goes back into the profile. So, sorry about the rabbit hole. I've had many conversations with people over the years that my daughter now knows as she's interviewing people to hire that I have trained years ago. And they knew her when she was a little squirt. And they're like, oh my gosh, I know your mom. I knew your mom. Your mom trained me. She worked with me. She got me to where I am. And I am so grateful to her. And she's so nice. How's your mom? And they still remember me every once in a while. Nicole, my daughter, she will call me. She's like, hey, what about so-and-so? And it's like, okay, blah, blah, blah. I know them. They're awesome. They're great. They're beautiful. Hire them. And she's like, yeah, they still remember you and they still remember me when I was a little kid. And they just tell me stories all the time. So that is part of my community and what I do. And I still have conversations with people. I still train people, but within my group, and I'll have one-on-one conversations with them. And it's like, buddy, you are so much more than what you're doing now. So where do you see yourself being? And let me help you get there. And I do this all the time. So before I knew about human design, I found out about human design and it brought me to where I am today. And I get those aha moments of community and also pulling back the alone time. I see that more and more in myself. It's like, okay, it's time for me to retreat and take some time for myself to recharge so I can come back and give more to others. So that's kind of what that's about. Hopefully that makes sense. And then we go down to single definition. What is that? I am a single definition. You see this 4037 over here to my right. So the 40 is sitting in the will. That's that red triangle. And then you see the brown triangle. That's my solar plexus. And then you'll see these two lines, the red and the black. That's my 4037. And that is the only one I have. And, so what is that? That is about contracts and community and family and, loyalty. And I feel that so, so much. And when I found out about it, first, when I found out about it, it's like, oh, okay, fine, you know. But as I started playing more and more and noticing and really dropping into my body and noticing how I feel about things, and people and circumstances and possibilities and opportunities, I feel that 4037 a lot. Uh, Much like I do community when I am pulling people, when I meet people and I bring them into my community. It all comes together. It all comes together. Now, the incarnation cross, I'm not going to really talk about that. That is some of my core wounding that I am here to work through. And I don't feel like I can explain that well enough here without making it too overly complicated for you. So I'm going to leave that be. But if that is something you're curious about, let's take a look at your human design and we can talk about that. In my inner authority, how do I make decisions? You're like, I'll tell you make decisions with your head. Come on. Actually, no. For me, no. If you have a solar plexus emotional authority, which your solar plexus is this brown triangle over here, you base your decisions, especially the big guys, on how you feel. And I don't know, if you're not familiar with human design, and you're an emotional authority, you'll go through waves, right? Of how you feel about something. You might be kind of like baseline, neutral today, or really excited, and you go and you buy the car and you wake up, I don't know, the next day, even a month later. Okay. Or even longer than that. It's possible. And you're like, oh man, I really, really, really wish I hadn't have bought that car. All right. Some people would call that buyer's remorse, but I'm going to challenge that. I'm going to say, were those people actually um, an emotional authority is what dropped from my brain. Emotional authority, where we have to wait for the answer for the really big things. Okay. Um, you know, and sometimes you will know how you feel on the smaller things, but it's all very, very quickly like, what do you want to eat today? Or does, pizza sound good today or something like that? But notice your body, find out your type, find out your profile. Then let's look at your authority. Okay. So it's type, profile, authority. Those are the bones to me of human design. And then from there, we go further. So your type, how are you made? And, like I said, generator, manifestor, manifesting generator, so that's kind of a hybrid. And wow, those are some amazing, amazing people. I just look and watch and it's like, how do you do all that? Because it's like go, 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 go. And it's amazing to watch when you realize that you are watching a manifesting generator in action. So yes, so we have generator, manifestor, manifesting generator, um, projector, and reflector. So there's lots of generators. There's less manifestors. There is quite a bit of manifesting generators. There's much less. I don't remember the percentages. Generator, I want to say was like, and manifesting generator. So we're going to use both of those together. I think I read there was like 70% of the population, but the math doesn't quite math out for me there. And then projectors is, I want to say roughly 20%. I think 20%. And then reflectors are even more rare, and that's less than 10%. So you can kind of see how that goes. So the generators, they're the doers, right? They're the doers, and they're the builders, and they're making it happen. They're building the buildings, they're creating the structures, they're building the containers, and they're fun to watch. It's amazing to watch. Both my kids are manifesting generators, two very different types, profile types, but they're fun to watch. But they're building, and I can see them building, 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 and it's fun. So I'm going to leave it there a little bit. Actually, I'm going to take it a little bit further. So my feelings, it's all about my feelings, how I make decisions, the big ones, the small ones. Okay. And, strategy, waiting for invitation, being invited, right? When you are a projector and you are trying to speak out in a room full of people, or, maybe even a social media post, those two kind of come to mind real quick. And no one's hearing you, no one's listening to you. And you're like, what the heck? But if you're in a room and you're hearing all these people talk about, I don't know, a particular subject, and you're like, hey guys, just, give me a minute. I have something that might help. And a lot of times that's my hack. Just a moment, just hear me out for just a moment. And someone will say, okay, Terry, what do you got? And other people hear that person say, okay, Terry, what do you got? And they stop and they'll listen. But if I say it, the whole meeting room is like still chatting away. Anyway, but that invitation of, hey, Terry, what have you got? All right. They stop, they listen. But here's the other thing that I've come to realize. If I am in a meeting or I am in a room with people, I'm going to take that a step further. And I'm saying, okay, you know what? I was invited here to be here. So that's my invitation to be there in that space and to speak or do as I am meant to be or say. Does that make sense? It does to me. If it doesn't to you, email me. We'll talk about it. And then themes. The last one we'll just kind of touch on here. Success. We light up over success. Oh my gosh. If you're a projector, success is like, holy cow. That's amazing. It's awesome. And you want more of it. And it's very understandable. But when you get angry, the other side of that is bitterness. Things aren't working out right. You get frustrated. You get angry. I'm going to ask you to take it a step further. Are you actually bitter? Because when I heard I had bitterness because I am an emotional projector, it's like, I don't get bitter. Well, I'm here to tell you, I started noticing how I got angry, how I really felt. Again, that inner authority, that solar plexus, how I felt. And let me tell you, it was bitter. And that was an eye opener. Well, baby. Anyway, so there's much, much more we can talk about through design and personality and channels and the entire human design over here. I really wanted to keep this really simple because I can go way down a rabbit hole and I don't want to do that, overwhelm and or complicate it for you. But I will say a couple of things here. As I was going through a lot of my healing, the big stuff that I knew I needed to work through, and then my coach recommended human design for me to get a reading because I felt like there was something missing. It, it was not, it wasn't complete. It wasn't connecting the dots. I felt like there was this big gap for me and it was just, I was searching. So anyway, my coach, she's like, Terry, go talk to my friend. She's starting a human design business. Have her do a reading for you. And she did. And I'm not going to, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. The first time I saw this and I started reading it and I saw, okay, so these little definitions, defined centers over here, the will and the solar plexus that I have, out of all 9 centers, I have 2 that are defined. I was like, well, that doesn't feel good. and, and I was really kind of bummed that I didn't have more definition, but that was in the beginning, right? All these white centers that I have here, those are the lessons I'm here to learn. And it's been a wonderful time of learning for me. Sometimes it's really uncomfortable. Sometimes it brings me to tears. But I'm going to say a couple of things here that I wish someone had told me when they first did that human design. First of all, we have all the design. We have every single thing. The question is whether it's defined or undefined. And that helps us understand how we move through our life, how we interact with others, what we want, what we desire. It all is a map. And look, there's no one right way through learning your human design and how and who you are. It is an experiment and you do what feels right for you in learning about that, learning about yourself. Okay. So if you run your design, please don't look at it as I don't have all this stuff. It could go either way, or maybe you're in the middle, but you have everything. You have everything and you are perfectly made. So please, when you run it, look at the whole thing and tell yourself, I've got all the stuff. I've got all the stuff. I've got a couple of things that are defined and I got a whole lot maybe that's undefined, But that's how I feel. That's what I get for other people and what's coming into me. So you have all the things. You are right where you're supposed to be, and it's all good. And there's one other thing I do want to say here. Please don't label yourself. Okay. We're more than a label. I have seen where people label themselves of, I'm a projector. I am an emotional projector, or I can't go do this because no one invited me. Sure you can. Sure you can. You can go do the thing. You don't have to be invited to the small things. You don't have to be invited to the grocery store or to go to work or to get up in the morning or to make your dinner or to take the dogs for a walk or say hello to someone with a smile. You don't need to be invited to those things. So, okay, we're going to wrap this up. So if any of this resonated with you and you're curious about it, I hope I made it digestible for you. And I think probably yesterday, the reason why that whole podcast didn't record is it wasn't digestible for you. It might have been too much. So it happened as it was meant to happen. But if any of this resonates with you, I'm going to leave the website down below in the show notes, and run your human design. Scroll all the way down to the end, put your details in, run your human design. See what it looks like. See how you feel about it. Read about it. Read about the type, the profile, the inner authority. Those are the bones. Those are the base of everything else. Okay? That's where we start with that. And then we also pull in, that 4-week program. It all intertwines. But if you're only interested in the human design piece, that's okay. Go run the chart. And if you're still curious and you want to know more, book a reading with me and we will go deeper. Anyway, listen, you guys have an awesome week and we will talk soon.